Oh, judgment. So,
Yeah.
so judgment becomes a mindset.
Mhm.
And for many people, they will have a laundry list of things that they're afraid of. That's kind of the easy first doorway into judgment. And the antidote is to get curious. Is my fear real? Zig Ziglar always, he's a big sales guru. And I heard this at a conference somewhere in the mid 70s, false evidence appearing real. And I just burst out laughing. I thought, oh my gosh, that is exactly right. We manufacture an intensely um, emotional experience that has not yet happened. um, when you get a no in a response to a request we've made, will you choose to work with me as your coach for the next 6 months so that you can achieve the growth you're looking for? And the client says no, most coaches shrink back. Well, no is the beginning of not yet, right? It's in that moment that we ask the next question. What do you want strong enough that you're willing to risk moving through what's familiar and comfortable to you? Oh, because of course that's what happens in a coaching relationship. So you may not be available just yet for that level of stretch. What would be 10% back that would be useful for you right now? I'm going to stay in the conversation as coach. So and that's just a simple example that we move through the fear because we begin to see it's not real. It's not our reality. It's a story or a myth that has been manufactured for us by whatever our cultural orientation and societal orientation is. Not right, not wrong, not anything that we want to evaluate. We want to notice it and avoid naming it as something. Oh, there's a phenomenon here. Goodness gracious. This is why I don't like models. You've heard me talk about that before. I think
Yeah.
people hide behind models, right? They want a prescription or a formula. I'm much more interested in looking at the phenomenon. What is occurring right in front of me? What's happening in this relationship? And to get curious about that, not accept that I intuitively am right. My intuition guides me to my curiosity. And I think another step out from curiosity is wonder.
Yes.
How do we live in a state of wonder, which is so much more vibrant, right? It has a life force of its own, and it allows both parties to realize neither one of us know where we're going. Like our conversation today, it's going to go wherever it goes because you and I are sitting here doing it. It's so fun, right?
Yeah.
We can take ourselves lightly and take the subject seriously.
True, true. Because I think that is where, for me, the three words you used, saying notice, name, and negotiate, come into place. Because when you are currently in the moment and you're just being, that's when you can notice it. Otherwise, it can easily slip off. And when you notice it, that's when naming it becomes important. It was so powerful, Janet. Because as coaches, we're told, we are trained, be non-judgmental in your listening. And at that time, it was like, okay, yes, so being judgmental is negative. So that's why we are told, be non-judgmental. And here you are, who comes in with so many years of coaching behind you and changes the entire way we look at judgment. And that for me was my aha about looking at you differently and the way you approach. Like you said, another thing, everyone talks about having a model. What is the model that you think will fit in here? And you come in and say, no model. And getting into the consciousness, the human within, is something which is really beautiful. And that's what happened in the pandemic. There was a huge disruption everywhere, everywhere,
Yep.
world over. Nobody thought the world would come to its knees in front of
Right.
something so small, which was
Exactly.
invisible. And nature thrived, human beings completely arrested themselves into their homes. A lot of reflections today, the perils of losing them, because slowly life has gone back to what it was. What were your reflections from the pandemic? Because I loved what you wrote on disruption. But what are your reflections from the pandemic?
Things have not gone back to the way it was. 2020 was a really interesting year for me. In the summer of 19, we had just finished a huge project, a multi-million-dollar project that we did for a big multinational on all 6 continents. And I said to the team, I think it's time to pursue one of my dreams. It's a dream I've been holding for a decade, and maybe, just maybe, now's the right time. And that was to host a social progress conference that would bring foundation funders, grant funder kind of people in the room with practitioners all along the human development spectrum, and the folks who would be implementing. So not just the activists, but folks that were involved in social progress initiatives in an NPO or an NGO, or maybe private people who were wanting to do things at the point of population served. And to talk about climate, to talk about racism, to talk about healthy communities, and to talk about human slavery. These are huge obstacles to us moving into a new direction. So great passion around this. So we said, yeah, let's do it. March 8th, I am in a photography and video studio in downtown Seattle, filming some promotion videos and having some new photographs shot of me for the promotion for the conference. And the next day, Washington shut down. And I'm thinking to myself, holy Toledo, what are we doing? We have this commitment. We have 50 speakers who all have, paid contracts we're going to execute with them. Will anybody come? Will we even be able to hold it? And ultimately, we ended up doing the conference virtually, which was grand. But boy, this was an extraordinary practice in staying still and staying connected to what I cared about and helping the team keep their feet underneath them. We came through the pandemic swimmingly well. I'm blessed to have a team of people who have faith, which was, there were days when it tested our faith. And in July, the beginning of July, our head of promotion said, Janet, you've had a book in you for a really long time. What do you think? Could you get it written this summer so we could have it for the conference? I'm like, are you kidding? He goes, well, I kind of already did something. We've cleared your calendar for the next 4 weeks. So I sat down and wrote a book that's called inviteCHANGE, the year of lessons from 2020, the year of no return. Because I could see, back to the conversation we were having about economics, I could see that the system had revealed its cracks. The pandemic was simply a catalyst. It was always there. The cracks were always there. But now it was in plain view for everyone to see. We would not go back to the old way of structuring systems, enterprises, companies, organizations of any kind. And boy, aren't we struggling. There are a lot of leaders who have been long tenured in the seat who want desperately for things to go back the way they were. And you read the social media and the periodicals, and everybody's going, how do you do hybrid? And it's like, hang on, everybody, take a little breath. What's the upside? All the cracks that we all knew about of command and control and hierarchical systems is not how nature operates. Look at the disease. Look what it did. Look how it replicated. It basically told us we are social connection beings. It told us that. Now, we didn't like the way it told us that, but it got revealed. We do want to be together. But technology's also turned us into a zero geography world. And the larger generation in the workplace in another 5 years will be under the age of 30. They're all digital natives. They will not tolerate the very structured way in which business has happened for the last 100 years, right? We're at a pivotal turning point moment in the world, everywhere in the world. And I think that the pandemic was a an accelerant to help us recognize time to use our ingenuity to see what it is to produce work. What are we actually creating? And what has been around for a very long time, but nobody seems to practice, is a social mindset that is taking into consideration what will be the downstream influences of this on people I don't know, cannot see, but are always going to have the ripple effect of this decision we're about to make. I can tell you that I spend a lot of time with executive teams who don't embody that practice. And if they did, they'd have a lot less angst, a lot less front of the Wall Street Journal risk that occurs because they've not thought through the ripple effect of their decisions enough. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen to some degree, but it's usually driven by what does the board want, what do shareholders want, what do key stakeholders want, not so much on the impact and influence side. And I think they underestimate just how powerful their work is in the world.